Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast. This is episode 61. Got a lot of big news for you today as we are going to continue to talk about the NFL playoffs, the big three forming in Brooklyn, and our thoughts on the game that happened just before recording this. A lot of big signings in baseball this week. Jam-packed episode. Before we get into it, though, make sure you guys download the episode. Best way to show support. It's like the only way we could check our statistics. I don't know. We don't really know how to check anything else. But downloads, best way to show support. You can always delete it afterwards. If you guys want to follow us on our social media pages, you can follow us at SROnlyPod on Twitter and Instagram. And for our personal pages, you can follow myself at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram, and Healy6 on YouTube and Twitch.
And then I'm iGoose with 4 O's. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as well. Go ahead and hit that follow button. Yeah, we got a big one today. We were just, let's get started. I say let's get started with the baseball before we jump into the basketball. I'm still ecstatic, and my energy is through the roof from that basketball game. But there is a lot of news to get through first. As Healy mentioned, Healy, why don't you kick us off with all the baseball news in the past 24 to 48 hours?
The Blue Jays, they went out and they made some big signings. So we know DJ LeMahieu stayed in the AL East with the Yankees, 6 years, $90 million. I don't know if we talked about that, but now you know. George Springer stays he moves to the AL East, goes to the Blue Jays, 6 years, $150 million. So $25 million a year, solid money. Kirby Yates, former closer for the Padres, went to the Jays as well. And they also pick up Tyler Chatwood with the Cubs. He was just okay. So kind of a depth piece right there. But the Blue Jays, they are looking great lineup-wise. They're getting to that age where their lineup is getting the experience, and they should be getting their breakout years. They aren't rookies anymore. They aren't younger guys. This is going to be their third year for some of their guys in their lineup. So they went out, made a big signing. Their lineup was even more stacked earlier today with Michael Brantley reportedly signing a 3-year deal. And then all of a sudden, Michael Brantley news came out that there wasn't a deal in place. Or there was, but nothing was official there. And then all of a sudden, Michael Brantley re-signed with the Astros, which sucks because I would have liked to see him with the Blue Jays. It would have been cool to see what the Blue Jays could do with that team. He's a great bat for that team. And also, I know he wasn't a part of 2017, but the Astros getting a good player back to them, not great. They lost one, though. They lost their big piece with George, but big signings in Toronto. Does that make them a favorite in the AL East? I don't think so. Does it make them a top team in the American League, though? I definitely think it does. Their big issue, pitching. They still don't really have starting pitchers. They have Ryu. That's all I can think of, though. A lot of the guys that they worked with last year, Robbie Ray, they had Taijuan Walker. There's one more I'm thinking of, but I can't. Tanner Roark. Those guys were on 1-year deals. They haven't officially re-signed yet, so there's a lot of starting pitcher help that they need. And we'll see if they can pick up a couple of these guys before the season starts.
Yeah, a lot of signings. Obviously, as you mentioned already, George Springer got a huge deal. Only if they would have gotten, I don't know, would it have been Brantley and George Springer? I felt like it was one or the other. The Brantley deal kind of just for some reason just went south because CBS and other news stations reported, Brantley's going to the Blue Jays, but then all of a sudden they're like, wait, hold on, he's going to the Astros. And then George Springer, right after got announced, he got a huge deal, which
he was last night.
George Springer was last night. So they were trying for both.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
They would have had both in their lineup.
Can you imagine that? They were obviously played together already and were part of a World Series winning team, but I think that was huge.
Michael Brantley signed after that team.
Yeah. And that was funny because he took one last year, I believe, too, to go to to stay with the Astros. So we'll see what ends up happening there. That was a big move for the Astros. Obviously, to still contend. Obviously, last year we talked about them being a big contender in that division. So that was huge that they were able to keep Brantley, knowing Springer was gone. And there were some other signings as well. As you mentioned,
Yeah,
Lester.
the Cubs departure. They're not signing anyone, and they let all their rotation go.
That's
John
it.
Lester signed with the Nationals. Kyle Schwarber, I can't remember if we talked about this, signed with the Nationals. Jose Quintana signed with the Angels. He reunites with Joe Madden. And then Tyler Chatwood, I already mentioned, he signed with the Jays. So like the rotation for the Cubs right now, not looking great. John Lester, only $4 million to get him. That's an easy contract to get back. I don't know
Yeah.
why they didn't go with him again, but I honestly thought his time in Chicago was done. I thought they could have filled in a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know what the Cubs are doing. Their front office, or not their front office, their ownership is starting to get sour with the public. It's starting to get really sour with the fans. They cry that they have no money. They aren't making signings. They said that this wasn't a rebuild phase, yet they aren't doing anything, and their team isn't great. Who knows? Maybe they just want to rely on the rotation. If this is what the rotation is, we're going to see our boy Tyson Miller out there, though, next year. So that'll be great.
Yeah, I was just gonna note that. I mean, at this point, Kyle Hendricks, Alec Mills, maybe Zach Davies, Tyson Miller's right in there too. I mean, he had a couple. What did he have? Like 3 outings last year, 2 outings.
Yeah, he
He
had
was
a
on our
couple.
podcast right before he got called up from the that Iowa, or where was he at? He was part of the taxi squad.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see, and to have him as a guest. And now he actually might be every week starter moving forward. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the Cubs. I'm really hoping that we've seen the end of getting rid of everybody, but unfortunately, I still feel like there's many moves to be made. And this is unfortunately, I don't think they should, but obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Wilson or Brizzo, the pair of Rizzo and Chris Bryant, because they still have bats. If they can manage to keep these bats, who knows what they can do? Are they going to contend? Are they going to be a favorite? I don't know. The division isn't that great. The NL Central is not that great. And I know we talked about it a few episodes ago. But just to see Lester go, I mean, personally, I thought Lester at this point was going to retire. Why not come pitch another year for 4 years? Or for $4 million. So yeah, it's crazy to see these guys go, but I don't know how much more patience Chicago's going to have with the North Side. Guys, Southsiders, we are accepting right now bandwagon applications, just so you guys know. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Fun fact though. Thought this was super cool. John Lester. So he pitched quite a while in Boston. He pitched quite a while in Chicago as well. 9 years in Boston, 6 years in Chicago. He finished with a .636 win percentage in both places. And for both teams, he had a 3.64 ERA. Kind of weird to think. He was the exact same win percentage and ERA when he pitched for both Boston and Chicago.
that's wild. That's interesting. I wonder if he knows that.
He probably does.
Maybe
People
he
have talked about
does know. Maybe he does know that, and that's why he was like, "Hold on, I'm not going to ruin it here. Let's go do it over there now."
I don't think that would be a big influence, but that was a cool fun fact I thought of. J Happ signed with the Twins as well. Kind of a depth piece in their rotation. He's not great. I don't think he's too good, but hey, get that bag, and also depth is never an issue.
Yeah,
You'll always want depth.
Yeah, $8 million to go pitch. I mean, even at his age, what is he, 35, 36 years old? I mean, you never know what he can bring to the table, especially with a team that still has a chance to contend for that division title. I mean, they're still a good team. They're not a bad team by all means. Obviously, the White Sox, we talked about grabbing Liam Hendricks and all the splash that they made in the offseason. So it'd be interesting to see what the Twins do. But yeah, a lot of news, and I'm sure we're still going to get a lot more moving forward. Obviously, we're in the middle of January. before you know it, in another month and a half, pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting to spring training. So it's only a matter of time before we come at you guys with a lot more news. I mean, I don't know who's left to sign. Trevor Bauer is like the next guy. I think
And
he's
Real
literally.
Muto. Those are the last two.
Oh yeah, JT Realmuto. That's right. That's right. Both guys that should get huge contracts. I mean, huge contracts. So
yeah, they're the last two that should get above $100 million for their contract. Like, obviously, they could take less depending on the years, but if they take like a 5-year deal, there's no way they're getting less than $100 million.
At least. So,
yeah, besides that, we have one more thing to talk about. We'll briefly touch upon it. The Mets, there's their general manager, got caught 4 years after this all took place. The news finally broke out that he's a terrible human being. The Mets took action immediately, fired him. I don't know his name off the top of my head. I don't even want to say his name on the podcast because no one, like, why even promote his name? Don't publicize his name. He was just a very terrible human being. I'm making it sound super worse than he was, but like, I don't know. It depends how you want to look at it. Just what he did, not great.
He sent explicit photos while he was working with the Cubs. He was a pro scout at the time. And then obviously news broke. Guys, anybody listening to this, if you think that you have the potential that what you're sending to somebody or on Twitter, or if you think you have in the past, delete it before you end up becoming famous. You don't know. You might become famous tomorrow. It comes back to you. Think before you do anything in this life, because in this day and age and with media and technology, it is saved somewhere. It is saved somewhere. So again, the Mets fired him. They took action. It's not going to ruin their image. I still think that this offseason is all about the positives. That's all you can really focus on with the new ownership with Cohen and all the moves that he's made and they made collectively. And think about this as another positive move. This guy made a horrible mistake. It came back to him. And you know what? They took affirmative action right away. So think about the positives. Let's not think about the negatives, Mets fans and baseball fans out there. This guy had it coming, unfortunately made a bad move and he's going to pay for it. So yeah, I almost forgot about that in the news. Cause I was just like, wow, what a dummy, you know?
Yeah. And it's also like a shame, like on the Mets, also on the Cubs as well. This happened 4-5 years prior.
Yeah.
Didn't really break out. I don't know what the talks were like when it was happening, but like, you got to think that somewhere along the lines, word got back to the Cubs about it, and they probably didn't do much about it. It's also a shame how women are kind of treated in the workplace. This was a foreign woman trying to learn the English language, and this guy kind of like targeted her and sent a bunch of messages with no response, and then just sent his dangus.
You can draw to her. Yeah, exactly. And she was a female reporter. Unfortunately, it does happen. We've seen crazier things happen with reporters. I know with like Aaron Andrews back in the day. Just guys, be respectful of every human being. Treat everybody equally. Don't be a weirdo. It's pretty simple. You know, I don't know. I can rant for days, but Jared Porter, he's fired. He's no longer a GM of the Mets for what he did. You guys can draw a picture. Don't draw a picture, actually. Don't draw a mental picture. You can assume what he did was bad. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, man. That's all we're going to talk about with that. But just don't be weird if a girl isn't talking to you and she doesn't respond to your first couple texts, even a third, if you even go that far. It's over. Just stop. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, persevere in other ways in life.
Yeah, life will get better.
We're going off topic. All right, guys. So anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for baseball news. Was there anything else? Did we miss anything? I know we talked about J.A. Happ there at the end. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's it. So we're going to go over to the NBA. This is what I'm excited about. So we were going to start our podcast maybe an hour prior, and we tuned into the Brooklyn Nets versus Cleveland Cavaliers game. Why are we so excited about these two ball clubs, these two franchises? Well, it's the first game in which Brooklyn has their big three in the starting lineup playing together. You have Kyrie is back. You have James Harden. You have Kevin Durant. And who are they going up against? The Nets. Should be an easy win, right? No, it is not. As a matter of fact, the Cavaliers are, I don't know if I said Nets before. The Cavaliers is who they played, but the Cavaliers balled out. They kept it close enough to force an OT. At that point, Colin Sexton goes off. They go into double OT. He scores 20 points in a row between both. And I've always played Colin Sexton in my FanDuel. You know, I've always thought he's a great option. He's not overly expensive. He's good. He had a career high last year. He was scoring a lot, put up 41 points. This game, he took over. Now, take over an NBA 2K. If it's a real thing, it's Colin Sexton tonight on January 20th against the Brooklyn Nets. Led them to a double OT victory. Scored 20 points in a row. They could not stop him. And here's the thing. That's going to be the news is the big three loses to the Cavs. But let me tell you, the big three between Durant, Harden, and Irving, they played tremendous basketball all game. They played a great game.
Yeah, it was nothing on them at all. Like they could have probably closed out the regular whatever you want to call it, the fourth quarter.
Regulation, yeah.
Yeah, regulation a little bit better, but besides that, overtime, it was the Sexton show. He was unstoppable, and there's nothing really the Nets could do. But Durant went off, Harden with the triple-double. The ball movement was pretty good. Kyrie Irving was working well off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The ball movement was great. The defense from the Cavs late in the game was also great. The Nets just couldn't find an open shot. And so, unfortunately, they lost. So, 20 straight points for Sexton. He did end up losing that streak off of a Taurean Prince jump shot, which is kind of crazy how Taurean Prince and Jarrett Allen both had pretty good games against the Nets, the team that they were traded from.
Yeah, I think both of them, that was their debut game. Today was the first game for them in a Cavs uniform. And Jarrett Allen, double-double. 12 points, 11 boards, 4 blocks. This is why Jarrett Allen, we hyped Jarrett Allen up. He is somebody that's going to come in. He's not going to put up 20 points a game. He'll never put up 20 points a game. He's a guy who's going to get you 8 to 10 rebounds and almost guaranteed to get 3, maybe 4 blocks in the game. So we did see that. You know who we didn't see late in the game pretty much at all, and I don't know if he got hurt. We didn't see Andre Drummond like at all in the fourth quarter.
I think it was just they needed offense, and I don't know. I don't think they just matched up well.
Yeah, I think it was a matchup problem as well, but the Cavs look pretty good out there. Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. So we got to see them too. Damian Dotson, we've been seeing a lot, especially with Darius Garland being hurt still. But yeah, I mean, Colin Sexton taking over was for me. I was jumping out of my chair that whole game. Watching Kyrie come back, his first game back from his hiatus was awesome to watch. He had 37 points. Durant had 38. Both shot very efficiently. Kyrie shot 53% from the field. Kevin Durant shot 48%. He had a couple shots that he missed at the end of the game. James Harden did pretty well too. I mean, you can't take anything away from a guy who had a triple-double, 21 points. He had played with 5 fouls, like literally almost all of OT. So he did pretty well there. I think that this is I can't look at the Nets for I mean, the Nets did lose the game, but I'm looking at this as like, wow, this big three, they they're going to learn from this. They should have closed out in the fourth quarter. This is a team where even DeAndre Jordan, we didn't really see late in the game, like at all. And again, that was because of the matchup. They were running Jeff Green, at center. It looked like Durant was playing the power. They had Joe Harris in the mix. So it was interesting to see what they were running because remember, we talked about before, they lacked depth after trading for Harden. They literally got rid of everybody. And, they lost, who was it that got hurt is out for the season? Dinwiddie, who can step in to the 2 position or the 3 or even run the point if he has to. So again, Brooklyn did get the loss, but they showed they played a great ball game. So I'm looking forward to this big 3 moving forward.
Just want to point out, Friday night, Brooklyn and Cleveland yet again in Cleveland.
Again. So both games are in Cleveland. Wow. Okay.
That is weird. I thought it would have been a flip-flop game, but yeah, it's in Cleveland this Friday.
Interesting. I bet they're doing that this year in the NBA because it's less traveling.
Yeah.
Get the 2 guaranteed. They're there. They test, negative. Okay, cool. We got 2 games out of you guys. I think that's the best way to do it versus traveling back to Brooklyn. Then you're risking going through airports and all that. So I've noticed that too in my FanDuel when teams are playing back to back against the same team. So a double OT, whatever the over under was, they definitely went over by maybe like 100 points. It was 182, I believe, was the total.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 282. So yeah, that's, huge news there. In other news in the NBA, Kristaps Porzingis.
So wanted to talk about the Nets a little bit. They did.
Okay, we can do that.
Wanted to talk about how James Harden and his impact so far with them. We've seen a couple games beforehand with just KD and Harden before Kyrie came back, and they seem to play very well. Watching him, Durant and Harden without Irving, it was great. Harden was putting up triple doubles. Kevin Durant put up like 42 points one game. They beat the Bucks with both those two.
Yeah, and that was a good game. That was another close one.
And this team has been pretty solid. I don't know all the issues with Kyrie. Who knows? It could have been deployed so he wouldn't get traded for Harden. I don't know. But it's fun to see Durant and Harden back on the same team together. They're both super efficient. Durant, 38 points again tonight. He has been so good this season. I told you before the podcast, I wanted to bring up something that I mentioned beforehand on a previous podcast. So I've been seeing a bunch of people slowly talking about the MVP conversation. Who did they mention? They're mentioning Kevin Durant. Joel Embiid's up there. Jokic, AD, Giannis is all up there as well. Kevin Durant, though, I don't know if you remember. When I predicted my MVP, I said it would be Kevin Durant. Why? Because he's going to ball out, and people love the storylines.
Yep.
The news outlets love the storylines, and it's happening. This guy, he's out for a year and a half. He's putting up great comparable numbers to everyone else, but he has the edge because the story is great with a brand new team as well. Colin.
I'm pretty sure, is he first in the league in scoring, second in the league behind Harden? The fact that he's moving the way he is, and here's a fun fact. This is the most minutes he is averaging per game so far since his 2013-2014 season with OKC, which he averaged 38.5 minutes. Since then, he hasn't averaged 36 minutes a game. Since then, he's gotten close in 2015, 2016. But with Golden State, because obviously for one, they dominated every game, he only averaged 33 to 34 minutes a game. Now he's averaging 36.2, which is the most he's averaged in a while. He's averaging a career high in assists. He almost had a triple-double tonight. He is up there in rebounds. He's almost averaging 8 rebounds a game. He has literally lost 0%. And if anything, I'm convinced that he somehow is better than what he's been in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you.
It's been so fun to watch him.
I do personally believe that the NBA and the NBA fans, we love a good story. We love a good story. Not aside from the fact that he's going to lead this team to the playoffs. He's going to lead the league, maybe be top 2, top 3 in scoring. But the fact that he goes out in a double OT effort, they did lose, but he goes out there and I think he just played like 50 minutes in this game. He literally played 50 minutes. This is a guy who tore his ACL and hasn't played in a year and a half. And the minutes that I just gave you, that stat of him averaging 36 minutes a game, I don't even think included this game. So it's only going up. We'll see what happens in the next game. Maybe he gets a little bit of rest. Very well possible. But I'm amazed by Durant. I am completely amazed by this turnaround, and it makes me not worry so much for players that do tear their Achilles, which they always say is one of the worst for any athlete because you don't move the same. But he's just a different breed. He is a completely different breed. The fact that he almost had a triple-double and had 4 blocks today as well, I feel like he's better than what he's been.
He currently is behind Bradley Beal in scoring, who has 34.9 points.
Beal.
And Durant's down to, he was at 31.3 to start the night, and he's at 30.6 right now after tonight's game.
Man, Bradley Beal will say for a whole episode, that man needs to get out of Washington. That's all I'm going to say. Washington does not serve Bradley Beal at all. That's all I'm saying. That's it. They should have kept John Wall.
What were you saying about Porzingis before?
Porzingis is back. We mentioned before going on live today, you know, I was like talking about my FanDuel, which be on the lookout, guys. I am going to get back to my FanDuel ways. I'll be posting daily lineups. Be on the lookout. I almost hit 400 a couple times so far in the shortened season. Yes, I did. It's true. So Porzingis is back. And he's been playing limited minutes, and I'm like, whoa, he's blowing up FanDuel. Like, he's playing 25 minutes in the first couple games. Today, he's back. They beat Indianapolis, who's been pretty solid all season, by 12. He goes for 27, 4 assists, 13 boards, and a block. If there is one player that I am very ecstatic that is finally getting help, it's Luka Doncic. Luka has been quietly putting up stats. He's always going to be a stat filler, but I've been feeling horrible for him in this first part of the season so far. There was a game against Chicago where he had a triple-double, put up huge numbers, and they still lost. Because he has nobody around him. Like Dallas has, with Porzingis there, Porzingis is a great player when it comes to all-round. I don't want to say he's like a Durant, but like he's a very lengthy player who can shoot the long ball. He's good inside. He can board, and he gets blocks every single game. So I am very glad that he is back. I wanted to pinpoint that because he's been like quiet. Like he doesn't get as much hype for how much he produces in the minutes that he plays. And it's huge for Dallas because Dallas has always been a contending team to make the playoffs. They're always making a run. Luka's always in the spotlight because of his numbers, but they don't win games. And I mean, Chicago's been proven that they've been better the last handful of games or so. But for him to put up the numbers that he did, like he did in that Chicago game, and for them to just get whooped on, it got to the point where it's like, all right, Porzingis, it's time to come back. It is time to come back. So I'm glad. I wanted to pinpoint that. I'm glad that he's back. Because with Luka, and then there's Jalen Brunson and Tim Hardaway, who's okay, I guess. Porzingis coming back and putting up the numbers that he put up in tonight's game. He played 32 minutes, shot 12 of 15 from the field, had 13 boards in 32 minutes. That's not, I would say that's a full game, but like realistically, when he's fully healthy and he's not really playing any restricted minutes, which it doesn't seem like he is restricted too much, If he plays another 5 minutes a game, who knows what he's going to average? If they weren't, up by 12 points, who knows what else he would have done in
Mm-hmm.
this game? So Dallas is on my radar right now. I'm not saying that they're going to be a contender. They're going to compete with the Lakers or the Clippers or Denver or any of those big time squads in the West. But for that team, I'm going to say look out for them as far as making a run for that 8th or that 7th seed as time goes by. Right now, they're 7-7. They've been holding on. With Kristaps back, I would not be surprised if they can jump up to that 6th seed and maintain that.
Another team I wanted to talk about was the Bulls. You reminded me with talking about the Mavericks. The Bulls beat the Mavericks pretty easily with Luka playing a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Rockets pretty easily too. The Bulls past few games, I don't know what's up with this team. They look terrible to start off. Then they go through a stretch where they play good. And then they've gone through a stretch where they look terrible. And now they're back to looking decent. And they've had 3 days off in between their next game, which is Friday against the Hornets, which should be fun against LaMelo Ball.
Mm-hmm. They should have beaten the game we watched, OKC. They gave up in the OKC game. They literally gave up in the last 2 minutes. They were up, I think, 20 points at one point in that game. And they just got so lazy on defense. It's like it was just day and night. Like just the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, they go into OT and it was a wrap from that point. But I'm excited for the Bulls. And I've said it before. I text you about it all the time. You text me about it. Play Daniel Gafford.
I don't know what it is.
Daniel Gafford.
I don't know what it is. The other day, he did get a decent amount of minutes compared to Wendell Carter, though. They played against the Rockets. And in that game, I'm pretty sure Gafford had like 16 minutes. And then Carter had like 20, 25-ish. So, yeah, trying to get the box score.
Yeah, he had 16. Wendell Carter played 20. Daniel Gafford was +5 in the plus-minus category. Wendell was -4.
I always see him in the minus.
What's that?
I always see him in the minus.
He's always in the minus. There's something, and I love Wendell Carter. He's not a bad player. He's valuable. He's young. He's learning. But Daniel Gafford goes in 16 minutes, has 2 blocks, 3 boards. Now, if you average that to starter minutes, 30 minutes right there, right? Or 32, double his numbers. 4 blocks, 6 boards. Maybe he scores 14 points. He had 7 in the game. I think he only played really one other game where he logged maybe that many minutes, and he was very efficient. They need to play him. And the problem is, and I know I said this in the beginning before the season started, you have all new coaching, new front office, general manager, head coach, Billy Donovan, obviously, and he has so much young talent. And then you have those veterans in the mix. You have Thad Young, Zach LaVine, I guess, would be considered a veteran, and Garrett Temple.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see waves. And this is my prediction. There's going to be games later on in the season, if the Bulls truly make a push for the playoffs, if they decide to keep everybody, which I don't see happening. If they decide to keep everybody, I would not be surprised if we see stretches of Daniel Gafford starting or coming off the bench playing 25, 26 minutes, Wendell taking the back seat. Or maybe they pair them up. Maybe Wendell falls back to the power forward and Gafford, or they stay on the court at the same time, because Wendell is the same size as Thad Young. He's 6'8". He's not a big center. To me, he's not a center in the league.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if down the stretch we start to see, if there is a push for the playoffs, Daniel Gafford logging 22 plus minutes, maybe close to 25. And it's just based off numbers. Like, what's the saying? Women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie, right? Stats don't lie. It's a science. It's a science.
Yeah.
Look at his numbers. Get him in the game. And I know Billy Donovan, this is brand new for him. This is a whole new team. They're all young. They're all talented. Just wait. We're going to start to see DNA. We're going to start to see DNA formulate. We're going to see this chemistry go. Denzel Valentine is playing way more now than he ever has with the Bulls. So now it's like, well, he's kind of shooting the ball pretty well. He shot 50% in a couple games ago from downtown. You have Thad Young in the mix. What's going to happen? And we're going to start to see that. Zach LaVine is still going to be the man. I don't know if they're going to trade Zach LaVine. I'm finally sold on Zach LaVine. If they trade him, they better get the most value you can get for any player right now, simply because his defense against Luka, the numbers, I think he guarded him for at least almost a quarter's worth of minutes. And he shut down Luka. And that's saying a lot, considering Zach LaVine's never been a defensive-minded guy, but that's been his focus in the offseason, and that's what his teammates have been hyping up going into this season. So I love Zach LaVine. He's the guy going forward. Kobe White, we still don't know. He shoots too quick. Not really good with clock management. Lauri Markkanen, we don't know. I think if they can develop him, keep him, get Daniel Gafford in the mix. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Super cool guy. He does stream on Twitch in his free time. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, I'd search up his Twitter, follow him there, get to know the guy. He's pretty cool on social media and that front as well. So next week we'll talk about, man, they play the Hornets this Friday. They play the Lakers on Saturday. They play the Celtics on Monday, and then they play the Grizzlies next Wednesday. So they're gonna have some tough games to play over the next week. So next podcast, probably gonna be talking about them quite a bit.
Yes, definitely quite a bit. They are the only team that literally boils my blood and also makes me excited for the future at the same time.
Mm-hmm. But besides that, I don't really know much happening in the basketball world. Caris LeVert, trade that could have saved his life. So as you guys know, he went to the Rockets. The Rockets flipped him for Oladipo, sent him to the Pacers. And then they found, during his physical, they found a mass on his kidney.
Yep.
Don't know how serious it is, but he said he was feeling very healthy, and who knows, maybe if he stayed with the Nets, that mass develops, gets larger. You wouldn't really know until it gets too late. Yep. Or it could be too late, but yeah, this trade, probably like a blessing in disguise for him. Gets to go to a brand new team. He gets to be the main man, but also at the same time could have saved his life. So hopefully that mass isn't too bad. Hopefully they could just remove it and he can live a healthy life afterwards.
Yeah. I feel like I said something on last week's episode about him getting traded and something about a physical.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like 2 days later, they're like, oh, they found this mass. And I was like, no way. Or not 2 days. I think it was a few days later, but just the irony in that, like how important like these physicals are. Like, it's you're trading for assets and it's like, hey, you're doing a full scan. We want to make sure everything's good. Come to find out you have a mass, you can only wish the best in that situation. It's always scary. So prayers up to Caris LeVert. Excellent ball player, bright future.
Now it's football time.
Football, NFL. You know what that means, guys. We are on to the NFC and AFC conference battles. So, guys, in this last weekend, fun-filled, wild, injury-filled battle divisional round, we had in the AFC, we had the Chiefs go up against the Browns. The Browns almost won. Pat Mahomes goes down with a concussion. Still in concussion protocol. We don't know what's going to happen. They think he's going to get the green light. That's the rumor. He practiced
today.
He did practice today. So chances are he's going to play. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, so we're not going to assume anything. I do find it weird that some guys miss weeks due to concussion, but everybody recovers at a different rate. Everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up pulling that victory off on one of the craziest runs I've ever seen by a backup quarterback.
Chad Henne. Did you know he was still in the league?
No, I didn't know he was still in the league. And then I see him in the game and I'm like, I'm texting everybody. I think I texted you and I was like, oh man, the Browns are going to pull this off. They're literally going to force a turnover, which Henne threw an interception in the back of the end zone. And at that point, I looked over and I was like, this is about to be the easiest path. If the Packers can get past Tampa, which I think they will, they're winning the Super Bowl. That's me as being a Packer fan. Not really thinking about the fact that they're playing Tom Brady or anything like that. And so that happened, and I thought the Browns for sure were going to win. I was like, Cleveland's about to flip the city upside down. They're about to flip the city, just like they did when LeBron finally won a championship there. Chad Henne, third and forever away.
Third and 14.
Third and 14 takes off. For a man that I thought wasn't in the league at his age, he ran so fast. Faster than Forrest Gump ever could. Gets tackled short. 4th and short. And they run a quick little, I wouldn't want to say a trick play, but in the sense it is. It's a little flat route. Little out, like not even an out route. It's literally a flat route to the fastest guy in the league. Tyreek Hill goes for a few yards. They seal the deal. Very crazy ending. Chad Henne deserves backup quarterback of the century for that. If Kyle Orton still doesn't already have that.
Dude, when I think of Chad Henne, I think of him playing against Troy Smith in Ohio State back in the day. Back in 2006. I remember him on like NCAA football games. And he got drafted to Jacksonville or it was Miami. I think it was Miami first.
Miami, yeah, I think so.
Didn't really work out. This dude got paid. He's still in the league, which is crazy. It's kind of like Chase Daniel. Like, they just didn't work out. And somehow they stick around over all these quarterbacks that are in the league.
Josh McCown was another one that was always a backup.
This dude has gotten paid $35 million in his career. Shout out to him. Best position in football besides the starting quarterback, backup quarterback.
It's important.
Yeah.
It goes to show it's very important. I mean, how many quarterbacks we saw Drew Brees go down? Taysom Hill had to step in. I mean, granted, he's like a utility man, right? In the NFL. We call him in baseball, we call it a utility man. He can play any position. In the NFL, that's what Taysom Hill is, backup. Chad Henne is
Foles?
Literally, Foles is another one. Foles has been a backup in many teams. Won a Super Bowl as a backup. He ended up starting in the Super Bowl because this Carson Wentz got hurt. So shout out to the backup quarterbacks. If any of you guys end up listening to this podcast, I'm here for you. We're here for it. So they end up winning the game against the Browns. They are going on to the AFC Championship game. And in the other game was a blowout. It wasn't a huge blowout, but in the sense it was because Baltimore got shut down 100% by the Buffalo Bills. I've always talked up Josh Allen to friends, to coworkers. I call him the truth because this dude has a crazy good arm and he's talented, he's young, and he's not afraid to be a playmaker. With that comes turnovers. This year and the playoffs so far, I am convinced that there is a team that will take Mahomes and the Chiefs to the fourth quarter and say, who's going to make the next big mistake in this fourth quarter? I've never been excited for a matchup in a long time because generally it's always Tom Brady with the Patriots. Kudos to him. I love to see him win. He's one of the greatest. I'm literally living through one of the greatest runs ever in the history of sports. But after a while, it gets boring. Now you get Pat Mahomes and this Chiefs team, literally like 14-2, like best team I've ever seen, probably playing a while offensively.
15-1.
15-1. Yes, 15-1. I'm sorry. Which reminds me of a Packers team that won 15-1 the year after they won the Super Bowl as well, and they lost in the playoffs. But anyways, this Chiefs team, this offense this year might be better than what they were last year. Very close to it, if not better. But this Bills team, they had Stephon Diggs. The defense is still great. If not, they're playing with more intensity this year. Josh Allen, I thought last year he had a good year. I didn't know if it would get better than that. The fact that he's doing what he's doing, the fact that he's throwing the ball downfield, he's utilizing every single receiver, puts him in line with the Mahomes and the Rodgers. He's got weapons around him. He's using every single one. Why I'm excited is because this Bills defense has the ability to slow down Mahomes. There's no stopping Mahomes in any game. There's no stopping Mahomes. It's not, you just can't do it. Some guys are just built for it. But I feel like this is the team that can get Mahomes to force a bad pass late in the game or two bad passes throughout the whole game. They can shut down the run and literally force the Chiefs defense to play the best football they've ever played in the last 2 seasons. Because that is the only way I feel like the Chiefs will end up winning by, they only have a 3-point spread. If the Chiefs win, I think they will barely cover the 3-point spread. I don't see it being a blowout. I'm excited. I'm more excited about this game. I'm probably as excited being a Packers fan. I'm as excited as I am for this Packers and Bucks matchup. What were your thoughts on the AFC game? I know you texted me. We were talking. Oh, no, we were together. I'm sorry. We were together. And it was just a blowout. You're like, look at this box score. It's not even fun. Obviously, Lamar Jackson got hurt. He got hurt. But this Bills team, tell me you're not just as surprised, if not more surprised than me.
I was really hoping it'd be a closer game. I'm surprised the Ravens didn't score more points than they did.
Me too.
How many did they score? 3?
I think it was like 3-17 or something like that.
Super low scoring, but man, I thought the Ravens would have at least found the end zone. You guys did as well on Twitter. You guys predicted out of 200 votes, 67% picked the Chiefs over the Browns, which I was surprised to see people go the other way a little bit. And then 155 votes, people picked the Bills 63% of the time. So every single matchup I put on Twitter, the people voted the right way. 73% to the Packers and then 60% to the Buccaneers. But yeah, just the AFC, man, as soon as that interception happened from Chad Henne, I thought it was over. I'm like, wow, we're about to see the Browns go to the AFC Championship against the Bills.
And the Bills, I still feel like Bills to me would be the favorite at that point. But I mean, you never know with momentum. Yeah, that interception I thought was gonna seal the deal. I'm sitting there being super lazy. I'm like, I'm ready for the Bucks game. Browns are coming back. Interception. Now we have the matchup of the century. Personally, I'm very excited with this matchup. No offense to Browns fans, but you guys just aren't there quite yet. Definitely have a future. You're definitely going to be making the playoffs for the next couple of years. Definitely have a future. Just not quite yet. And on the other side, oh, go on.
Go ahead with your thing. I could say it after.
Okay. I'm going to say on the other side with the NFC, Green Bay, dominating performance. They go out. They win their game, obviously. They ended up winning. Well, I don't even know. What was the final score in that game? I remember we were watching it together. It ended up being
32-18?
32-18. Yep.
Was that the exact score?
That was the exact score against the Rams, which the Rams, as a fan, I was like, whoa, like Aaron Donald's getting the nod to play. Jared Goff is playing. Cooper Kupp did not, which kind of helped because Cooper Kupp is very dangerous when it comes to this being a slot man. Like he is all over the field. He catches everything. He's quick. Aaron Donald luckily also played a lot of snaps off. regardless, the Rams' number one defense could not stop Aaron Rodgers and the number one offense. Could not stop him, could not stop Adams. The run game was there. Running by committee was great. A.J. Dillon ended up getting hurt on the Packers. I don't know what's going to happen, what the status is. I got to double check on that. So the Packers end up winning that game. Super easy. They remain home. They're home against none other than Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks, who beat the Saints in what we saw was possibly Tom Brady or Drew Brees' last game. He's still contemplating. Rumor is he's still contemplating. He was playing with a torn rotator cuff, we come to find out. Broke ribs earlier in the year. I personally don't think he's done. I still think that with this team, they're a contending team. Michael Thomas was also playing hurt. They played a good first half. Second half, they didn't do anything. For whatever reason, they just didn't show up at all in the second half. The Bucks ended up going on a scoring run of it was 17 unanswered or something like that. So the Bucks and the Packers in the NFC Conference Championship game, we have Rodgers versus Tom Brady, battle of the GOATs, if you will, the best to ever do it. And as a Packers fan, I'm a little nervous. They played once in the regular season, and it was a massacre. It was bad. Packers had no protection for Rodgers. He could not move the ball. They couldn't move the ball at all. It was 38-10, I believe, Tampa Bay. Packers have home field advantage, though. Packers have the home field advantage, which is huge. They play well at home. They have always been a team that plays very well on the frozen tundra. We don't know what the weather is going to be yet, but they are playing Sunday at 2:00. They're also given a 3-point spread. The Packers are the favorite by 3, same as the Chiefs. With that being said, and we're going to have polls, guys. Make sure you check our Twitter. We've been putting polls out. We've gotten over 200 votes every time for each game. So make sure you check out our polls. Predictions. Obviously, I believe you had, if I'm not mistaken, Bucks, Packers in the conference championship game. Actually, I think you had Bills, Chiefs as well.
Yeah, both of my predictions are still on the table. These are the championship matchups I had. I was thinking in my head, the people should know what we said because we have the same championships. No, you originally had Seahawks
and Green Bay.
Yeah, because Tampa
for the rematch.
Yep, because it would have been Tampa Bay and Packers around before in your bracket.
Exactly. Yep. I think I even had the Ravens and Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I felt like I had the Ravens going deeper. Oh, no, actually, I might have had them losing to the Ravens. I'd have to double check on that. That was a few weeks back. But I had the Chiefs and the Packers, both number one teams going.
We thought the Ravens were going to face the Chiefs in the second round.
Oh, that's right. And the Chiefs were going to win. That's right. You're right. Yeah, because the Ravens were the higher seed.
Yeah.
So, no.
They're the lowest.
Yeah, they're the lowest. That's what I meant. The lowest seed. Because I don't think anybody had the Browns winning against Pittsburgh.
No. No, not at all. So it's up to you. These are your predictions now.
Yeah. I mean, these. So what my prediction is, since I get a mulligan every week, because I'm not a winner, apparently. I only pick the one team right, 2 teams right every week. I am still going with the Super Bowl matchup. I'm sticking with that. I still have that. So Packers are going to cover the spread. They're going to beat the Bucks. And it is going to be a close game. The Bucks defense, who's the I can't even think of his name, the linebacker on the Bucks.
Levante David?
Was crushing people against literally I saw him hit 3 different Saints players in that game.
Winfield was another one.
Yeah, and so that's Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yep.
So isn't he a rookie this year or second year man?
Yeah, they
super
drafted
young.
him. Yep.
And he's balling out, man. He's balling. That whole defense is scary. As a Packer fan, I'm nervous. I do believe that they will move the football. I believe that they have developed and learned, and the They're a very smart football team, and they play well at home. So I'm going with Green Bay, and I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs. I believe they're going to win by 3 at least. But watch out in that fourth quarter, because if the Bills keep it close, it's going to come down to who makes that mistake.
Mm-hmm. Whatever matchup happens, as a fan of just the NFL right now, unlike you who has their team still in the playoffs, whatever combination of quarterbacks make it to the Super Bowl, I'm totally down for. You either get Tom Brady going up against his old Bills rival. Can he beat them with the new squad, the team that he's crushed for years, back in the Super Bowl? Or does he go back up against Patty Mahomes, the new versus the old, end of an era versus the new era? Or you get Rodgers, who he's had an MVP type season, one of the best ever to do it, going up against the young gun Josh Allen, who plays somewhat similar to him. Or we'll get the State Farm Super Bowl matchup with Rodgers and Mahomes. Both guys, they're both gunslingers. They both can move the ball well. They run. They do whatever it takes to move the ball downfield. Both those offenses are amazing. I did see on NFL.com, though, they were talking about a couple mismatches to watch for this week. Green Bay, they're so good early downs, so like first and second down, against Tampa Bay's defense. That was something that they wanted to look for. I didn't really read too much into it. And also, Stephon Diggs versus Kansas City's hurt secondary.
Ooh.
Their secondary's hurt a little bit, so Stephon Diggs could go off.
Stephon Diggs, man, that dude is the truth as well. He's super good. I mean, that was the perfect scenario, is him going to Buffalo. That's what they needed. They really haven't had offensive weapons. They have good players. They've had, Beasley and John Brown and other guys who can go off, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You get a sure player who is as comparable to the best receiver in the league as you can get. Top 5, I would say. Top 6. I'm excited. Like you mentioned, either matchup we get, I'm going to take my fan hat off if it's Brady. Either way, you're getting a Hall of Fame quarterback on one end, and you're getting a future Hall of Fame quarterback on the other, no matter who wins. No matter who wins. And all 4 teams defensively are not bad. Green Bay probably is Green Bay's defense is comparable to the Chiefs, but Green Bay does have possibly one of the best, if not the best, defensive back in the game with Jair Alexander, who I think gave up like 1 catch last week, if that, and he had a couple deflected passes. So I'm excited. Also, since we like fun facts on here, guys, Green Bay Packers, last time they were in the Super Bowl, 2011. This would make it the 10-year anniversary when Aaron Rodgers brought that WWE or WCW championship belt onto the field after winning the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which at the time I believe was probably favorited. That was a really good Steelers team.
Yeah.
I don't believe in superstition. I lied. I believe in a whole lot of superstition. I thought the story was going to be Drew Brees. I actually watched the video and I was sold that it was going to be Drew Brees because it's his last year. Nope. Tom Brady. If there's one way to go to solidify your GOAT status, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, because apparently statistics isn't enough. Apparently being the best quarterback of all time statistically is not enough. Number 1 quarterback rating. Number 1, number 2 completion overall. Touchdown to interception ratio. Only player to ever have 45 touchdowns with less than 6 or 5 interceptions in a year. Possibly about to get his, 3rd, 4th MVP. Apparently that's not enough. Apparently to be the best, you have to beat the best. And Rodgers, this is his moment to do it. He's home. He's lost big conference championship games. Quite a few. We saw last year with the 49ers. It wasn't even a matchup. This year, he has the weapons, and he has a way better defense than he's had in the last 10 years, literally in the last 10 years. Please, Aaron Rodgers.
And he's home.
And he's home.
For the
That's
first
a big deal.
time.
First time. That's huge.
cold. It's gonna be cold. Tom
Brady's
Brady.
used to the cold, but Brady's used to the cold. Here's the thing. Yes, he plays in Tampa and plays teams in Florida, in the East Coast where it's nice and warm down south. He was literally born and bred. He went to Michigan where it's cold. He went to, or Michigan State. He
Michigan.
played in New England, or Michigan. Yeah, he played in New England his whole career where it's cold. The Tuck rule, the game back in 2000, 2001 was nothing but snow, and he excelled. So I'm expecting Tom Brady to do a lot of big things. That wide receiver core. Watch out for the deep ball is all I got to say. Adrian Amos, don't let up the big pass to Mike Evans, please. Stay over the top. Stay over the top. And obviously you have your thoughts. We already know your predictions. You are literally the only one out of the two of us who predicted. But your thoughts as well, Healy.
Yeah, I'm not going to change it at all. I'm still sticking with my bracket. Chiefs over the Bills, Packers over the Bucks. I feel like I get the blowout. This is not the same time as weeks ago. These are two completely different teams. We saw the Saints pretty easily beat the Bucks their first two matchups, and then all of a sudden in the playoffs the Bucks reverse it. I'm not going to look at that first matchup. I think the Packers offensively are just so good. Aaron Jones with helping out with the run game is awesome. I just don't think the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to be able to keep up with the offense, especially with the clock management that the Packers showed this past week. And then the AFC, I feel like the offense is just way too good for the Bills defense to slow down and for the Bills offense to keep up with the Chiefs. All really depends on Pat Mahomes playing. Concussion, never really anything good. He hasn't officially been diagnosed with a concussion. He was just ruled out, and he was being tested for it. But if he's completely fine and it wasn't that bad of an injury, and he just got kind of roughed up for a day or two, that's great. It's not like he hurt his ankle last week and they're just like, all right, he's good. He's looking great. When you know his ankle would hurt this week and it would affect him. So I think he's perfectly fine, will play well, and unfortunately, this won't be the Bills' year. If I have to eat my words next week, so be it.
I have one question for you. You're a GM, you're a franchise owner. You just invested $500 million in the man. If there's a chance that he's concussed, I mean, obviously they can literally do this and say, you know what, you're good to go. You're good enough. You with a concussion and not playing 100%, playing 50% is way better than Chad Henne, obviously. Mm-hmm. Is it worth the risk this season for that investment, that $500 million? Because obviously concussions, they're not serious, but they are in a way. Like CTE is a real thing. Guys end up retiring early because they can't take the concussions. They can't take the hits. Do you risk it?
I don't think he was hit that bad, and they're so close. You kind of have to go. It's not like
let him play. Yeah.
It's not like Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, where it's like, okay, yeah, we can go with Nick Foles. This is like some gold and then some crap. Like there's a big difference. There's a big difference between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not really as high risk to get hurt. Like it's not a broken leg. You don't tear a muscle. Just don't get hit, I guess. Because I mean, he looked concussed. He almost fell. He looked very concussed. I think if it's close enough, I agree. You pull the trigger. You say, hey, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna protect you. Throw the ball away if you have to. Do not take a hit. Protect us as well, because I mean, personally, if it's close, of course they're gonna. We won't know. We'll never know if he's really hurt. If he even passed the protocol. I'm sure there's league doctors out there that are, not biased, right? There's professionals that are not part of the Chiefs organization, but I'm sure if it's close enough, they're probably going to say, you know what, we got to do it. It's Pat Mahomes, it's the conference championship, it's the NFL, it's a big stage. He's going to play. I'm expecting him to play. If it was regular season, I wouldn't expect him to play.
No.
So
this Sunday, though, both games are happening. I was talking to Goose beforehand about how normally I felt like one game was on Saturday, one game was on Sunday. This year, both games are on Sunday. I don't know about you. I'm only watching football on Sunday. I'm not going to be doing anything. So I hope you guys at listening to this, wherever you are, if you're doing the same, I just hope we get some great games. But that's going to do it for this episode number 61. As always, make sure you download the episode. You can always delete it whenever. Make sure to follow us on our social media pages, SR Only Pod, Twitter and Instagram, and then our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy 6.
And I'm iGoose with 4 O's. As always, don't ask why. Just hit that follow button, guys. Stay interactive as well. Definitely watch out for our polls on Twitter. And stay interactive, guys.
We will see you guys next week.